You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast. It is season 4, episode 13. Cubs position players report, Crawly. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Follow on all the socials, 670 on Twitter, Instagram, Fly the W on Facebook, email Crawly and I, flythew670 at gmail.com. All right, Crawly, we've got a full team, a full Cubs squad at camp. We even had the owner speak to the players, even though he didn't speak to the media. So it's time for us to give everybody a little bit of update on what we've learned. Let's inform the fans, Crawly.
Yeah, obviously the biggest news of the offseason was trading for Kyle Tucker. So for those lucky enough to be in Mesa, or those of us watching on Marquee, you want to see what he looks like in a Cubs uniform for the first time, right? You want to hear what he has to say about, the team, about the season, what's going to happen. And like you would expect, he's setting the bar high as far as what he wants to see from this team in 2025.
I mean, I'm going to do what I do out on the field and in the clubhouse, and, just being around everyone every single day, trying to make myself better, everyone else better, and just, uplift, the whole team in whatever way I can. We did have a lot of team success over in Houston, and hoping to, continue that here in Chicago. So I'm excited to get after it with these guys, and, we have a really good ball club, and I think we have a really good opportunity to have a lot of success this year and, make it to the playoffs and have a run at the World Series. So, I see it every year. That's our goal to, get to the World Series and win. So I don't see a whole lot of point in showing up just to come out and play some games and go home at the end of the day. You want to come up, show up, and win. That's kind of what our jobs are revolved around, and that's what we like to do. We don't like to just come out here and just kind of run around. We want to come out and win games and play it at a high level and have a lot of fun doing it.
All right, I like it. Playoffs.
Love it. He's not just out there to go through the motions. I think that is a fantastic way to indoctrinate himself, at least verbally, to Cub fans. Not here to go through the motions. And he's got experience. He has played in October. There's no Craig Tober. There's Craig Tember. There's been no Craig Tober. So let's see if, Astros Tober can sink in over at Clark and Addison.
I've talked to a lot of people about Kyle Tucker. I'm not some guy that's been, following Kyle Tucker's career when I've been paying attention to, obviously, to the Cubs and mostly the NL opponents. The one thing I would say from everyone I talk to, he's not the flashiest guy. He's a guy that likes to kind of a lunch pail guy that just wants to get in there, get to work hard, and has the same expectation for his teammates. He reminds me a lot, Dustin, of Ryan Sandberg in that way. And not a guy that's going to sit there and get in front of the mic and say, we got to do this. Hey man, we're going to work hard. We're here to win. That's what we're here to do. You're not going to get he's not the Dansby Swanson rah-rah kind of guy. He's not the PCA, I'm gonna put stars in my hair kind of guy. He's just a guy that shows up, but holds himself and his teammates to a high standard. I think that's going to play well in Chicago. I think people are really going to fall in love with Kyle Tucker.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought it was great. Can't wait to see him. Hopefully we get to hear him Friday, 1:55. We've got our first Chicago Cubs baseball is on the air. We've got Cubs Dodgers 1:55 on the score. So I'm looking forward to that and hoping that he's in the lineup. And then a week from Saturday, this coming Saturday, right? We've got White Sox Cubs. So be great to get him into that rivalry. This is really interesting. The next topic, Crawly, Suzuki will DH, but there's a but. We'll get it. We'll see if you're on but there's a but. So let's talk about Suzuki being in camp and really interesting comments from Craig Counsell I hope we're going to get to. But let's talk about Suzuki as a DH for the Cubs.
Yeah, big story that came out during the winter meetings, Seiya Suzuki's willingness to play DH. If you remember, his agent, Joe Wolf, said Seiya was a great defender in Japan, so it's not a compliment for him being a DH. I think if he was posted in Japan and teams were presenting to him their opportunities and they said, you can come here and be our full-time DH, I don't think he would have signed with that team. Well, Craig Counsell has been asked more than once about this, and he talked to the media about what the role for Seiya Suzuki is.
Look, Kyle Tucker's going to play right field. Ian's going to play left field. Pete's going to play a lot of center field, and that's going to lead Seiya to the DH most days. I think it's a place if things happen, when things happen, we're very covered there, and that's a good thing. That's again on February 9th. That's the plan. Right. But it obviously things can change.
There can be injuries. There can be all over a lot of things. One thing, and we talked to our guy, Josh Frydman, about this, and you'll hear it in segment 2, is what you were alluding to, Dustin, is the idea of miscommunication is what Craig said. Craig has said, hey, I was lazy. I didn't communicate well enough. It's a foreign-born player, so it's a little bit different. But I mean, there's no doubt about what the idea is that Seiya Suzuki will be playing DH. It's just something that both Seiya and Craig sat down and talked about, that they're going to work on their communication a little bit more, and hopefully everything works out well as far as this idea of having Seiya as a DH.
But he also said that Seiya wouldn't do a lot of DHing in spring training. So is Kyle Tucker going to be doing a bunch of DHing? I'm just confused. So if you're not going to have your DHing in spring training, then what's the point of spring training? Is Seiya Suzuki going to be kept off his feet because they're worried about his oblique? I needed a follow-up on that. So, okay, you're not going to have Seiya Suzuki DH much. Is that because you're going to have him play maybe right and left field in spring training to get him up to speed if there was an injury? Is that the idea? Okay, fine. But tell us that. Why do we have to speculate? It just seems like a dumb way. Well, but he's not going to DH a bunch in spring training. Okay, well, please explain, Craig. Please give a full answer, Craig. Please don't be lazy, Craig.
Well, from things that I've heard from different audio, different stuff, he is what's going with, obviously with spring training, there's a lot of things that happen that are a little bit different. Okay. The idea is that Seiya Suzuki may play 1-2 days a week during the season, maybe right, maybe left. Now, not right away. Obviously, these guys are all rested and they should be good to go. But if there's a day where, hey, Kyle Tucker's off his feet for a day and he's DHing, and then Seiya's in right, or vice versa, if it's Ian Happ DHing and Seiya playing left. So the idea this spring is that Seiya Suzuki will get opportunities in left and right. Remember, a lot of these guys are going to sit, Seiya Suzuki, or I'm sorry, Kyle Tucker doesn't need a whole bunch of practice in the outfield. Okay. What he needs to do is get his cuts in. And you can do a lot of different things in spring training. Maybe you start Kyle Tucker and he starts the game and he's in right field, and Seiya Suzuki's in DH. And then when Kyle Tucker comes out, maybe Seiya plays the field for a couple innings. You can have him play in left field. There's split squad games where you have multiple players coming in. So there's a lot of opportunity for Seiya to work on DHing. So our guy, Josh Frydman, we talk about this in segment 2. He had a chance to talk about Seiya and his reaction. And here's what Seiya had to say about the idea of playing DH through his interpreter.
Yeah, my job is to give it my all to whatever my job calls for. So if it is to DH, if it is to play the field, I'm giving my best, and that's my job.
So that's his job. He's going to do what he's asked. But Dustin, when I look at this right here, right? Council said this, plenty of times. He did great as DH. Seiya Suzuki in general did well. From August 16th on, Seiya made 37 starts, but 36 of them came in the DH role. Only one of them as a right fielder. And the numbers look great. He hit 326 with a 933 OPS in those final 37 games. But if you look at Seiya Suzuki's numbers in general, I have it up here if you're watching on the 670 The Score YouTube channel. All of his numbers look good. Here's the problem, right? He sits there and he comes out of the gate as a right fielder looking really good. He slashed 341, 415, 614 in April, and he's crushing the ball. And the Cubs were 18-12 to start the season, even though the starting pitching struggled, if you remember, and the bullpen at that point in time. But on April 15th, the Cubs placed him on the IL with a right oblique strain. Here we go with these obliques.
Oblique.
Right. He did a rehab stint in Iowa and was activated the Cubs on May 10th. but he definitely wasn't 100%. He slashed 219, 275, 329 in May, which is really when the Cubs fell out of it. And then he was only slightly better in June. And by the time he started getting it going again, the Cubs were out of it. And so when you look at the numbers, the Cubs were 21 and 34 in May and June, 13 games under 500. That's the season right there. Okay. In July, August, and September, when Seiya was healthy, the Cubs were 11 games over 500. So if you add in the month of April, you see the Cubs were 17 games over 500 when Seiya was healthy, as opposed to the 13 under when he wasn't. And so I still feel that Seiya Suzuki is one of the most underrated hitters in baseball. I don't think he's a great fielder. Okay. I think he's average at best, and he's had some really big mistakes. But having Kyle Tucker in that lineup with Seiya Suzuki is going to make him that much better as a hitter. And he did talk a little bit about how he, in that month of August into September, how he learned how to approach the game as a DH. So let's hope it continues to work, because clearly having Kyle Tucker in right field, having all Gold Glover and all Gold Glove outfield, and I don't care what anyone says, Pete Crow Armstrong's a Gold Glover out there, even though he hasn't won one yet. That is going to make the Cubs a better team.
Well, speaking of oblique injuries, Crawly, on Valentine's Day, we got a little bad news. Kind of broke my heart, if you will, that third baseman Matt Shaw dealing with a little bit of an oblique issue.
Yeah, that definitely caused panic in Cubdom. The Cubs are obviously relying heavily on Shaw after swinging and missing on Bregman. The Cubs did pick up plenty of infielders this offseason, including John Birdie, Vidal Brujan, Gage Workman, Nicky Lopez. But none of those guys, Dustin, are everyday players. They are guys that you can use to give a guy a spell, a little breather. They're bench players, good in small spurts. Luckily, Matt Shaw was on Inside the Clubhouse on 670 The Score, talking to our guy, Bruce Levine. And he kind of, calmed everybody down a little bit.
Yeah, no, I've never had any oblique problems in my past. And, one of the main things is just like making sure whatever I'm doing isn't aggravating in any way. And that's been the case thus far. I've been able to run. We ran the bases yesterday. I'll be able to hit and throw a little bit today and do a little bit of defense and work out as well. So, and none of that aggravates it at all. And as long as I continue on that path where whatever I'm doing, and this kind of build up at this point is not painful in any way, which it hasn't been, then, I'm right on track to be ready to rock and roll by, middle of next week, late next week. So, for me, that's really exciting. And obviously nobody ever wants any sort of setback. But at the end of the day, I think, we're right on track, not too different than where we were last week. So, I feel pretty confident.
All right. It sounds okay. Doesn't sound horrible, right?
No, not horrible at all. I like the fact that you heard he's been out there for 2 months. Obviously, jumped back on a plane, came in for Cubs Con, and back out to Arizona. Says gave rock and roll a couple of times, and so it's all good. Listen, let's see what They got a long time until the real opener, and we've got just about a month until the opener in Japan against the Dodgers.
Another thing to kind of keep in mind, he did do that Premier 12 tournament as well. So he's been playing plenty of baseball. He's had a lot of practice. It just, the thing is, Dustin, it just shows you how thin they are at third base. It does make you nervous, because if something were to happen to him, that's the tough thing about not having an Alex Bregman on the lineup is that, you are one slight injury to Matt Shaw from really having some trouble at third base. I liked that his teammates, the veterans, are coming up saying, look, you're in no race to get into spring training game number 1. That doesn't matter. Just get healthy, get right, and be ready for the start of the season.
That's all that matters. Be ready for that trip to Japan, or if it's still questionable, don't go to Japan, and be ready when the team comes back to play the Diamondbacks.
Now, Dustin, we talked about Justin Turner maybe coming to the Cubs, but the one thing we mentioned is not as a third baseman really, but primarily as a right-handed hitting first baseman. Obviously, the first base position, you got Michael Busch, who is anchored there. The Cubs believe in him, but he's a lefty. And so maybe a righty to kind of give him a break every now and then wouldn't be a bad idea. Now, right now, the Cubs have Alexander Canario on the roster. And, ideally you think he's a backup outfielder, but when would he get any playing time in the outfield, right? Canario is not a, old school veteran who could just get off the bench and, be ready to, like Tommy La Stella, right? 3 a.m., fall out of bed at 3 a.m. and be able to hit the ball. That's not Canario, okay? And so where's he going to get playing time? Now, we talked earlier about Suzuki getting time out in the outfield 1 or 2 times a week, playing left or right. And then you got to assume that Tucker or Happ would DH on days Suzuki plays the field. So the Cubs are trying to get creative here with Canario. And you see him starting to take reps at first base. Now, remember that Canario was acquired in the Chris Bryant trade from San Francisco along with Caleb Killian. And Dustin, it's frustrating because he looked like he was ready to break out after his 2022 minor league season. He hit 37 home runs across 3 levels of the minor leagues. But then in winter ball, he was playing for the Dominican League. He had a gruesome injury. There was a collision when he was running down to first base. He dislocated his shoulder and broke his ankle and was only able to play about 53 games in 2023. 2023, he did get a cup of coffee with the Cubs. He appeared in 16 games and he hit slash 294 on OBP 294. He slugged 647 with a home run and 6 RBIs in 6 games. Not bad. And then he came up in 2024, played in 15 games and again looked really good. Slash 280, 357, slugged 440. Wasn't there as much. 1 home run, 2 RBIs. But that's a guy that, you wonder, how does he fit into this team? So I like the fact that he is getting a little bit of an opportunity to play first base.
Not to put you on the spot, Crawly, but I'm sure you're going to know this answer. You're going to know where to find it pretty quick. What's his situation as far as options?
Oh yeah, he has options. Not a problem.
So you don't have to worry. You don't have to keep him up here and fear that you have to lose him. But eventually, right? Eventually, this scratch off ticket, if you will, for the Chris Bryant trade, is this a $2 scratch off or is this a $25 winner or is this a junk? Not even you can't even cash this in for another free scratch off.
Oh man. So that's a good question. And that's why you hope that he gets some playing time to show it. That's the thing is when you have the roster that you have, I think ideally you'd like to keep him around and see what he can do. But playing time is going to be very limited for some of these guys. They're going to have to make the most of the opportunities that they have.
Well, the next group of guys, Crawly, we're going to talk about are not scratch-offs. They are Hall of Famers, and it's very cool to see on all kinds of different social media platforms guys like Rick Sutcliffe, Ferguson Jenkins, and, of course, Ryne Sandberg reporting to Cubs Hap and interacting with all the great Cubs we have on the team this year.
Yeah, for anyone that's ever been out to Mesa for spring training, one of the cool things to see is former Cubs coming back out to help and work with the coaches and players. Dustin, all the years I've gone, I've seen plenty of players, whether it's Rick Sutcliffe, Fergie Jenkins, they're all out in uniforms with the coaches, with Tommy Hotovy. It's a lot of fun. This spring, like you mentioned, Hall of Famer Ryne Sandberg has been there since day one and has been more involved in this camp than any that I can remember since he was a minor league coach for the Cubs. And so just absolutely great to see Rhino out there. And again, for him, he says it's medicine to be out in the sunshine. And here's what Craig Counsell said. He said, we're just thrilled he's here. I told the players, people like Rhino and the Hall of Famers, they make an impact when they step into a room. That's what Rhino's done the last 2 days. He's been here and we're thankful for that. Absolutely. Here's a photo of Rhino with the skipper, Craig Counsell, and his former teammate, Rick Sutcliffe. And how awesome was it to see Matt Shaw come up and talk to, this is a cool photo. The other day, so Ryne Sandberg's in camp and he's talking with Rick Sutcliffe, and out of nowhere, 2 of his former double play teammates surprised him from behind. It was Shawan Dunston and Mark Grace. So those guys are not in camp. They just showed up to surprise Rhino. And so it was absolutely phenomenal to see that. And here's a funny story. Sandberg told it in his Hall of Fame speech. All right. When Rhino was a rookie and Larry Boa was playing shortstop, whenever there was a pop fly in the infield, Larry Bow would say, plenty of room, plenty of room. And that was basically telling Rhino, it's yours. Not moving, right? I'm not moving. And
Hey, Crawly, did you notice the sweatshirt that Mark Grace was wearing?
Yep, the Murphy's Bleacher sweatshirt. Love it. But
how funny is that?
Yeah, I tweeted that out to my guys at Murphy's and they loved it. But the funny thing is, so Sandberg's talking to, I think it was Counsell to Sutcliffe, and they're coming up from behind to surprise him. And both of them start shouting out, plenty of room, plenty of room. And Sandberg instantly knew who it was without even having to turn around, because when Sandberg then later on becomes the veteran, he would do that to Dunston and Grace when they were rookies, is basically saying, plenty of room, it's yours, I ain't moving. So one of those things that's just great. But to see all of these guys here, they're all Cub Hall of Famers. And of course, Rhino and Fergie in baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. But Matt Shaw came up to the guys and it just kind of shows you like the moxie of a guy like Matt Shaw, how he thinks, he has no fear. He's going to go up and talk to these Hall of Famers. And they were just great, giving him advice, talking to him. And Sean Dunston is somebody that I'm really happy got a chance to talk to Shaw, just because he knows what it's like. Dunston was a first-round pick for the Cubs. Dunston was touted as the next great big thing for the Cubs. And so, there's not a lot of guys, I would say. Well, I don't want to say not a lot of guys, but he definitely understands what Matt Shaw is going through in a camp. He knows what it's like to kind of be the young guy on a veteran team. And so I think that hopefully Matt Shaw just soaked it all in and got a lot of information from these guys. But again, it's one of the beauties of Mesa is, like I said, just being able to go out there and see something like this. Another funny story about Sutcliffe. If you remember last year, the Cubs drafted Mark McGwire's son. And so I was dying to get a photo with Mark McGwire in a Cubs uniform. I'm like, I got to get that. That's just too funny. And so I see a big giant redhead in Cubs uniform. And so I'm sprinting from the Club 400 tent to it was right by Field 1, which is close to the complex. And I'm sprinting to get my picture with Mark McGwire. Well, it turned out it was Rick Sutcliffe, and I'm huffing and puffing by the time I get there. And Sut looks at me and he goes, Crawly, why the hell are you running over here? You have 100 pictures with me. I'm like, I thought you were McGwire. He's like, wrong redhead, Crawly.
Wrong ginger. Wrong
ginger. So yeah, I did get my picture with Mark McGwire, but man, it's just one of those awesome things about Mesa to be able to take. It's just so much fun, and just to see that, it's just magical stuff.
You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast, season 4, episode 13. The Cubs position players have reported. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the podcast. Also, leave us a 5-star review in this segment. Crawly talking to Josh Frydman, who spent the last week at Cubs camp in Mesa, from WGN, talking to position players as they arrive, giving us a little behind-the-scenes look at Cubs spring training.
Joining me now on the podcast, Josh Frydman from WGN Sports. How you doing, Josh?
Crawly, what's up, man? Great to do this live as well. And from the casa that we rent out for 10 days in Arizona. Unfortunately, our time's coming to an end in AZ in a couple of days, but it's been a fun first week of camp for sure.
I gotta tell you, you don't want to come home. It's going to look like a mess when you get there. It's going to be sub-zero temperatures this week. So try to see if you can extend it.
I've heard you guys have gotten a little snow when we've been gone. Yeah. So I'm definitely going to miss the sunshine in the 70s.
Well, here's the thing, Josh. Not only are you covering Cubs camp, you're covering White Sox. And for people that aren't aware, the Cubs are unique in the fact that they own and control everything in Sloan Park. The White Sox, like most other teams in Arizona, are doubling up. They partner with another team. So the White Sox, the team with the worst record in MLB history, over 120 losses, is sharing a facility with the Dodgers, who are the World Series champions and who look very much like they want to repeat again. What is it like being in Glendale and seeing those two very different franchises sharing the same facilities?
Yeah, it sounds like the start of a corny baseball movie premise, right? Literally the David and Goliath sharing a ballpark facility. I made note of it, honestly, my first report out there on, I think it was Wednesday, when they opened up hitters and catchers, and the juxtaposition, it's so jarring because you have on one side, the Dodgers, this behemoth, they're spending $380 million. They got basically every big free agent, it felt like, this offseason. They're coming off a championship, and there's hundreds of media, literally, because so many are from Japan following this team. And then you go to the White Sox, and there's not really a lot of hype at all. The prospects, I guess, is kind of the only thing you really kind of grasp onto. New manager, Will Venable, I sat down with him yesterday, really nice guy, but the challenge in front of them is not going to be a 1 or 2 year project, Crawly. It's going to be, multiple seasons with Chris Guest, the GM, trying to build up that team. So, right now as a reporter, you're meeting a lot of new faces. They have 70 guys in camp. It's a huge roster. You're trying to find the stories that are there, and there's always, that's always our job. But a striking difference in message and tone and what you experience from just literally one side of the facility to the other with the Dodgers and the White Sox at Camelback Ranch.
Now, when you talk about Jed Hoyer, and you were there when he was talking here, I think I even got, there it is. There's your microphone right there. Yep. But there you are talking to Jed. And obviously, that had to have been, tough for the camp, because there was a little bit of hype surrounding Alex Bregman. But I think the thing that kind of has a lot of people wondering is it seems like a lot of teams are going this deferred money route. And obviously baseball's going to have to do something about it at some point in time. You can't keep doing what are the Dodgers have more deferred money than some teams have payroll? I mean, it's getting out of control. But while it's still there, why are they so not, wanting to go that route?
Yeah, really all Jed told us was it's a philosophical organizational decision at this point, which to me says the Ricketts family is a little tired of having money on the books still for players that don't suit up for the Cubs. I believe it was Bruce Levine who brought up the fact that John Lester and Jason Hayward are still being paid by the team with deferred money. So, and I completely get that, right? You if you're owning a business and you have an investment and you're saying, all right, we're giving you X amount of money in real life dollars. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to pay you the Bobby Bonilla money 30 years down the line. You're still going to get a check. And that doesn't feel good, right? The Bonilla contract is obviously looked at as one of the, year anniversaries that you kind of joke about, like, oh, another check for Bobby Bonilla. And, it's gotten to be a little bit more extreme now because of the money that the players are making these days, not just $1 million check you're getting in deferrals. But it seems like it's an organizational decision with the Ricketts, and we're hearing so much about budget, and as a Cubs fan, you got to be discouraged by the fact that there's a hard cap on this team when you're in a win now season, and you see the Dodgers and the Mets and the Phillies and the Braves and the Diamondbacks and the Padres all with bigger budgets than you, and obviously the correlation's not always 1 for 1. Just because you have more money to spend doesn't mean you're going to win. Case in point, the Brewers winning the division last year, and in years past with a small market team, the Rays in the AL East, it doesn't always work that way. But certainly you give yourself a better chance of getting these free agents. And when they kind of came in late in the process of Alex Bregman, it was like, all right, this is going to be a little bit like Cody Bellinger last year. And Jed even brought up that the Ricketts family extended the budget beyond what they had set last year to make room for Cody. And so the fact that it was clearly disappointment in Jed's words, you can see that in his voice and in his body language, that he was disappointed this didn't work out. But when you don't have the best, yeah, there it is. I mean, when you don't have the best offer out there, Crawly, and Alex Bregman has his choice of multiple 6-year deals, and then he gets a $40 million plus opt-outs to hit free agency again at age 31, 32 next year. It's hard to blame him to go to Boston, the team that originally drafted him, by the way, out of high school. Then he went to LSU for that connection. And that's a team that really loaded up this winter too. So when you compare where the Cubs are at to these other big market teams, certainly it's disappointing for fans.
So it's going to be the Matt Shaw show, and he's a young kid. We don't know what he's going to do. You had a chance to talk to him. Here's some video that you shot from their clubhouse at Sloan, and this is what Matt Shaw had to say about the whole Alex Bregman saga.
It's really exciting. Obviously, the Bregman decision gives us as like a team a little more clarity of moving forward, which I think is nice for everybody. And we're just really excited.
Was this something you were following along with, like the media and fans were, or were you kind of just focusing on what you're doing here and not worried about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Something you definitely follow along with. For me, I've been spending a lot of time working on third base. So that decision impacts a lot where, I might have the opportunity to play in the field. So, just trying to continue to get work in different places, and now obviously going to focus a little bit more on third
What
base.
does it do for you that the front office, the coaches have said, you're going to get the first crack at this, that they're, confidence in you, that they believe you can win this job out of spring?
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. That's all you could ask for. So something I really look forward to. It's going to be a really exciting spring. It should be a lot of fun. And I think it's just a little bit different, having better relationships, feeling a little more comfortable. So I'm definitely excited.
How did you find out Bregman signed with the Red Sox?
I got a text from one of my buddies saying that Bregman's, I grew up in Massachusetts, so I got a lot of Red Sox fans that are friends of mine. So I got a text from one of my friends.
So they were happy both ways. Red Sox fans.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a win-win. Yeah. So
Win-win there. I love it. But the thing I like about him is he was honest. He was like, yeah, I was watching it. Who wouldn't? It's you got some guys that'll be like, oh yeah, I don't pay attention. I just do what I got to do on the. It's like, no, I was watching that because it would have impacted him.
Totally. And, I think the biggest takeaway from talking to Matt Shaw and being around the Cubs and the way they speak about Shaw is he doesn't back down from this. He is not shying away from the fact that he wants to be the third baseman, that he feels like he's ready to contribute right away, that he's come a long way in his defense. The hitting is going to be there. That's the hit tool is really, really good. Talking to another, director of kind of player development with another organization about Shaw recently. And he was like, yeah, third base, we'll see if he sticks, but the hit tool is there right away. And they're pretty confident about that. The fact that he was drafted a year and a half ago. I think it's easy to forget, right? 2023 first round pick, really shot through the scene in the minors. So I feel like they feel really good about the bat. And if he can contribute even a little bit in line with the projections, adding to this order, you feel good. And then, defensively, a name he brought up, which I thought was interesting, was Nick Madrigal. And, he's a little taller than Madrigal, but he's not the biggest guy. And so he studied kind of how Nick transitioned to third base and how he used his feet to kind of put himself in better position and to get more strength on his throws when you're not like the size of Nolan Arenado, right? It's a little harder. And, I think Bregman's another good example he could have brought up to a Gold Glove defender who's not the biggest guy. So Shaw studying those players and knowing what he needs to work on is huge. And yeah, a little bit of a setback, very minor this week. He said he's felt a little tweak in his oblique on Monday. Took a few days off. They're being uber careful and slow as they should be. He told us today he was cleared for basically everything at about 70%, but fielding, running, good to go tomorrow. They're going to get back to hitting and throwing. So it shouldn't be any concern at this point on Matt Shaw.
Now, you had video today and it went nuts. It went viral for Houston fans because it was Ryan Presley throwing to Kyle Tucker. Obviously, you mentioned it a little bit earlier with Jed talking about a win now year. They pushed all their chips in on Kyle Tucker. What did you see from Kyle Tucker at camp? Did he seem to fit in okay? Was he smiling, having a good time? And it didn't look like he was swinging. It looked like he was mainly tracking the ball today.
Yeah, I mean, you're in first live BPs for guys, and so it's kind of fun to see Astro versus Astro now as Cub. And we talk so much about Bregman and what that trio could have been like at Cubs camp. But the two biggest acquisitions this offseason we're facing off today. And yeah, Presley, was getting in work and just to have a batter in the box is really important for pitchers at this stage. So Tucker kind of tracking, like you said, not taking big cuts. But we talked to him Friday. He got in only a couple days before that. And, he's still getting used to his bearings, right? He spent not only his entire career in Houston, but that facility is in Florida. He said the only time he had been to this facility was for Arizona fall camp. So very, I think mellow, even keel, focused dude. He is not someone that screams, look at me or superstar when it comes to his personality. Goes about his business in a quiet way. I talked to Craig Counsell a little bit about that today. And he said, Counsell did, he's a superstar, but he's kind of put your head down type of superstar. And, the numbers bear that out. And when he stayed healthy, and that was an issue last year, I believe it was the shin that got him down for 3 months, but he was on pace to have his best year overall. 3-time All-Star back to back. Obviously the playoff pedigree. I mean, that is an infusion of a star that the Cubs have not really had since the 2016 core. And so to make this a win now year, that I think is what makes this frustrating, the conversation about Bregman and missing out on other free agents and this budget hard cap, because you made this move for Tucker and you're only guaranteed one season of him. And if you're saying you're not going to make the necessary financial offers to guys like Alex Bregman, then what does that mean for the future of potentially re-signing Kyle Tucker? And he's going to command $300-400 million in a long-term deal. Does that already kind of rule you out, even if you have a really good season this year? I think the Cubs are banking on, we got him here, He's going to love Wrigley. He's going to love the fans. Hopefully we have a winning season, get back to the playoffs, and make his decision tougher. But these guys, as you know, Crawly, money speaks loudest. And if he's offered something crazy by a team that the Cubs are not going to go match, it won't necessarily matter. So for the interim, for this season, 2025, I'm excited to see Kyle Tucker. And he now being the guy, it's different because he was kind of in the background with Altuve and with Alvarez and Bregman and all the stars in Houston. So what is that spotlight in Chicago? What is that going to be like for him?
My only advice for Cub fans: don't buy your Kyle Tucker jerseys until he signs an extension. That's the one thing.
Good piece of advice. I agree with that one.
Now, you remember the old Nomar Garciaparra jerseys, right? All over Wrigley Field. One of the stories that was interesting coming into camp, obviously you got Kyle Tucker. That means Seiya Suzuki is going to be the DH, and Joe Wolf kind of brought it up on the winter meetings, didn't sound like too thrilled about it. And so you had a chance to talk to Seiya and the interpreter, and we'll play what he says, but to me, it's got to be really hard because, like I said, you're getting it through an interpreter. He can't communicate that in English, and that's got to be tough. But here's what you had. Here's what you had Seiya. You recorded Seiya saying.
Yeah, my job is to give it my all to whatever my job calls for. So if it is to DH, if it is to play the field, I'm giving my best, and that's my job. Yeah, I can't share too much of what the conversation was between counsel and I, but I feel like last year we could have had better communication. So going into this year, I feel like we're improving upon that and then communicate better during the season. So it was my first experience coming here where the manager changed. So I'm trying to learn how he thinks, and obviously the goal is to win the championship. So, what his thoughts are about considering baseball and other things. So just getting a deeper understanding through him. Yeah, so I learned the flow of, the DH, how to prepare during games. And I think I can use that experience better for this year and figure out what other ways I can find to improve myself. I think it's that decision, it's up to me. I need to get better defensively, and if it does, I get to play the field more. So yeah, it's ultimately down to me.
Now, I don't know right now, just basically everything that he is saying right there. I mean, it's all the right things, but no matter how much he improves defensively, he's not knocking Kyle Tucker out of right field.
Exactly. I think once that trade became official, the speculation, rightly so, was, all right, what does that mean for Seiya Suzuki? And that was even when Bellinger was still a part of the Cubs. So you knew someone had to move. They decided to deal Cody, obviously, to New York. Is it possible Seiya gets moved at this point? I would be surprised. I don't think so. I think, they need his bat especially. And, he's going to spell guys mainly in the corners, whether it's Happ or whether it's Tucker. We heard from Craig Counsell this weekend saying that he'll get some work in spring in left field too. So maybe 1 or 2 times a week max that he'll play in the outfield. And I think you're going to see him DH hopefully 130 times a year, or, staying healthy that way too. But let's face it, he's had some high profile misses in the outfield and miscues. And when you add a Gold Glover, not just a great player in Tucker, but a Gold Glover, you can have Gold Glovers throughout the outfield. So your defense especially is a strength. And so Suzuki, whether he likes it or not, is going to have to be comfortable and getting used to that DH position. And I thought the other thing that was interesting that we talked to both him and Counsell about was there was some communication issues between them last year. And Seiya said that's something that they talked about and they're working on. And Counsell even admitted that he said he used the word lazy with, a foreign player and not being, having the conversation in English, just going up to a guy and just start talking. You needed an interpreter because Seiya obviously is not fluent in English. And, I think some people were saying, why doesn't he, come on. It's just if you were plopped into Japan for a couple of years, don't expect to just learn Japanese that easily. So I don't think that's fair of him. But Seiya or Counsell admitted with Seiya that he needs to do better and he needs to work on that communication issue. So that for them to be upfront about that, I thought that was interesting. And one other note, last year Seiya had a different interpreter, Toy. They dismissed him kind of out of the blue in the middle of the year, right after the All-Star game. We never got an official explanation. I think Jesse Rogers followed up yesterday with Seiya to ask, was that part of this? And he said no. The current translator you heard there is Edwin Stanberry. He's actually the translator interpreter for Shota, and Seiya's interpreter, who is now Masamoto, was not in camp yet, had some visa issues according to Counsell. So just kind of keeping that all in context. But from what they said, the communication issues with Counsell were not related to anything with your interpreter.
Okay. All right. So that, it's and Seiya in that clip mentioned, it's the first time he's been in the United States while there's been a manager change. So you do have to get used to a completely different style, obviously David Ross versus Craig Counsell. And so, he can hit. I mean, we've seen him hit, and last year he was hitting well in April, injures his oblique, and then struggles to come back. But once he starts going, he was really rolling. So, it feels like this year the Cubs really have a chance to win the NL Central. It's what they should do every time. But the question then, is what are they going to do in the postseason? Do they have enough? And, how many more moves are left for Jed Hoyer? Obviously, I don't think there's anything big happening, in the next, before the Tokyo series. But maybe as the season goes on and depending on how the Cubs look, hopefully Jed has a little bit more he can add.
And he's done that the past couple of years, right? Jen Martindale, a couple trade deadlines ago when it looked like the Cubs were going to be sellers. All of a sudden you win 9 of 11 or 9 of 10 right before the All-Star game before the trade deadline, right after the All-Star game, and you turn into a buyer. So Jed has shown the proclivity to be pretty active during the midseason, where you have a little bit extra cash on hand. And I think that's part of this, right? If he does have a set budget, and obviously it's not close to that luxury tax because they're $30 million short of that. So he has plenty of room, you would think, to make those in-season moves. I think more on the margins at this point, maybe another reliever. I think starting pitching, if they stay healthy, the top 3 look good, but you got some questions. Does Matthew Boyd build on his 8 starts coming off Tommy John last season? Colin Ray is a guy who can be an inning eater, but he with Javier Assad are going to be guys where they could be rotation pieces or long relievers. I think there's a lot of options like that. Ben Brown, we talked to in camp, feels fully healthy. Jordan Wicks is healthy too. So there's a lot of depth. I think it's up to people to agree or disagree whether that's good depth or not, and kind of feel how they want about the strength of this pitching staff. I tend to believe that it's much more improved than last year. And if they stay healthy, and if Tyone especially builds on what he did in September, it could look, like I said, pretty good at the top. And then you have a much deeper bullpen than you had last year, and obviously injuries crushed this team, so that's going to be something to look at. But yeah, like you said, this is a team that should win the NL Central. I don't think it's a given, even though the other teams didn't do much. It's still the Brewers, whether or not you like them. The Reds, I think, are sneaky. I don't think they're getting talked about a lot. They got a lot of kind of pieces on the margins that were better pickups than I think people made out to be, and also got healthier too. Matt McClain is back at the start of their top of their order. And then Pittsburgh, they still have probably the best pitcher in the National League in Paul Skeens. I was surprised they didn't try to do more to build on his 5 or 6 years under team control. But I think the bigger question is, if you make the playoffs, are you a team that can actually compete for more than that and with the big boys in the National League? And on paper, it doesn't look like that right now, but that's why they play the 162, and you got to see how this season unfolds.
Well, Josh, tell our listeners where they can find your work. And a lot of the videos that we saw today were from your Twitter account, which is X account, whatever you want to call it, but just full of good stuff. Where can they follow you on the socials, and where can they see your work on TV?
Appreciate it, Crawly. Yep. Josh_Frydman is the social handle on X. Yeah, I still say Twitter too. Come on. And then just Josh Frydman on Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, I've been posting a lot of just, like you said, clubhouse videos, pictures, videos from just both sides of Cubs and White Sox camp. And yeah, we got a bunch of good stories. GN Sports TV is the social handle for our show. It's 10:30 every night on WGN. So I'll be on tonight. I got to sit down with Craig Counsell. He had some really good stuff about Kyle Tucker, about what he kind of learned from his first year as a Cub last year to build on, the uniqueness of this camp with the Japan trip coming up. So good insight from Craig. And yeah, just kind of, I feel like we talked to every player so far in the clubhouse. It's just good to get to know guys and share that with the fans. And that's kind of what this time is about. And hopefully, Cubs fans enjoy that coverage. But always a pleasure to kind of talk Northside baseball with you, and hopefully we'll get to do it again soon.
Absolutely. And you have safe travels, Josh.
Thanks, buddy. You too. See ya.
This is the Fly the W670 podcast, episode number 13, season number 4. The Cubs position players are in camp. Don't forget to leave us one of those 5-star reviews. We talked about it on one of the last podcasts, one of Crawly's favorite days as the baseball season is right around the corner. The Cubs dropped their promotional calendar. This year, there are some epic giveaways that Cub fans will want to add to their collections in this segment. Crawly, speaking to the Cubs, Jen Martindale, she is Senior VP of Marketing, to talk about all the Wrigley Field giveaways.
Chicago Cubs proudly present the newest inductees to our Promo Item Hall of Fame. This Garden Guardian has been dominating flower beds since the 2013 promo season. It's the Kerrywood Garden Gnome.
Beautiful collector's item. Must be worth $20K.
Who fears rain delays when you've got this bad boy? It's classic headwear weatherwear from 2018, the Cubs cap-shaped umbrella. Making a splash since 2002, it's a promo item with a slugging percentage worth quacking about. It's the Sammy Sosa Celebraduck.
2 Hall of Fame in 1 year.
From 2014, take a scenic spin through Wrigley, one click at a time, with the 1930s Cubs Viewmaster.
Vintage VR goggles, can you believe it?
And the notable knitwear that's louder than a Wrigley roar, the 2024 Pat Hughes sweater.
In addition to being visibly atrocious, this sweater is also kind of itchy. You could say that I start every day from scratch.
Congratulations, you iconic keepsakes of yesteryear. Now, save a spot on the wall for this year's promo items.
Feeling pretty Hall of Fame right now. I don't know about you. You look like it. First ballot, baby.
Joining me now on the Fly the W podcast, I'm happy to have back Jen Martindale. She is the Senior VP of Marketing. Jen, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm getting excited for baseball. I'm heading to Mesa next week.
Oh my God. I heard it's going to be like 90 degrees. So that's going to be the first game of the season then. You're going to be out there.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Oh, well, we just played the video the Cubs released introducing the promo schedule for this year. I don't know whose idea that video was, but they deserve a raise. That was brilliant. And what I loved about it was that I have all of those giveaways, and now I need the Cubs to build a promo item Hall of Fame.
I appreciate the kind words. I will pass them along to Cubs Productions, our in-house content team. They struck gold with this idea. And as soon as they ran it by me, I knew we had something really special. So I'm glad you liked it.
I mean, the Cubs for years have been kind of on the leading edge when it comes to making these type, the stadium giveaways back in the days of the Beanie Babies and all that stuff. And even today, it's really something that everybody just loves being a part of. And so for me, like one of my favorite days of the season is giveaway days. And Jen, for our listeners who may not be aware, there really kind of is two different categories when it comes to promotional items. There's gate giveaways and special event tickets. And it really is important to know the difference between the two.
Yes. Thank you for pointing that out, Crawly. So gate giveaways are first come, first serve, available to the typically first 10,000 guests who arrive at the ballpark on dates that these souvenirs are available. But then we also have, as you mentioned, special ticket offers where if you go to cubs.com/specials, for example, and you buy a ticket clicking one of those links specifically, you are basically buying a ticket bundle that will guarantee you receive this special item.
And usually those special items will be like under a tent in Gallagher Way the day of the game. And so it really, like I said, it's nice because you don't have to like rush in there. You can guarantee that you're going to get that item. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to the gate getaways, you guys come off kicking it off like usual, and people love it. I remember it was gone for like a short minute and then it came back, the magnet schedule. And these are the old school, for you, those of you watching on the 670 The Score YouTube channel, this is the old school 1930s scorecard logo on that. And it's a fantastic one. And here's a little piece of advice for everybody, because the weather usually stinks on opening day. Bring a gallon Ziploc bag and put it in there. And that way it won't get damaged by the weather. And so that is the first one on opening day. And I just love the design on that. And how does that work? Does somebody do you guys come again and someone says, all right, we're going to make a magnet schedule. What's it going to look like? Whose idea was that to put that cool artwork on there?
Yeah, so that came from our in-house content team, Cubs Productions, as well. They design, I would say, the graphics for 80% of our promotional items each year. And they just do a fantastic job. And as you can imagine, we start this process quite far in advance. So given that, we start playing baseball in April, we actually start working on the promotional calendar before the previous season even ends. So we've been working on the promotional calendar since early last fall, if not late last summer.
And one of the things I always love is when you guys do these type of gifts right in the cold season, right? So you got this great on April 5th, this beautiful flannel shirt. I saw it, and my wife has gotten into line dancing lately, and I'm like, I got to get this thing. This is so kind of like country bar thing, but I think it looks awesome.
I'm so glad you like it. Yeah, I mean, you're wearing the iconic Pat Hughes sweater, which I believe we gave away that first chilly weekend in 2024, and agree that it's the perfect time of year to do those heavy wearables. And so we're really excited that the reaction to the flannel shirt has been really positive so far.
Now, when we talked about gate giveaways, there's also two types of gate giveaways: the general gate giveaway for the entire stadium, and there's Bud Bleacher Fridays, right? And that goes to anyone that's sitting in the bleachers. They get these things. And one of the first ones is this cool vintage quarter zip, and that's on May 30th. And I just like I said, I love the design of it. It just looks really, really, really nice.
Oh, I'm so glad you like it. Yeah, this year for our Bud Fridays, we decided to go with a vintage retro theme. So in the past, those of you who've sat in the bleachers, you might know sometimes we'll do variations of the same item, like the hat you're wearing. We might do like 5 different hats, or we might do 5 different tank tops. This year, all the items are different, but they all feel retro. So we have the quarter zip, as you mentioned. We also have some replicas of Ryan Sandberg's iconic flip-up sunglasses as a giveaway. We have a tank top that is for left field versus right field. So we have a lot of fun kind of throwback stuff planned for the bleachers this year.
Oh yeah, there's a right field, left field. That's on July 18th, and I think that's going to be a fun one. You know, it's all in good fun, and you know there are people that really do stake out their claims. I have friends in left field that won't go to right, and vice versa. So you kind of get what you want here. Now, Jen, I think this is going to be the biggest one, and seeing PCA wearing this was absolutely hilarious. May 31st. The Dansby Swanson Flow headband. That is a something.
Yeah. So last year, before the season started, I called that the Pat Hughes sweater you're wearing was going to be the iconic giveaway of the season. I think the Dansby Flow headband is going to be the iconic giveaway this year. We're super excited to see this. I mean, can you imagine 10,000 people in Wrigley wearing this at the same time? And it's actually really good quality. We tested a few different ones at the office, and the one we ended up is pretty good.
Well, I got to tell you, it's like you said, I think sometimes there's those ones that you just look and you're like, everybody's going to want that one. And then the umbrella hat, I love that. That kicks back to Pete LaCock for all the old school fans out there. He wore that umbrella type hat, and that's June 13th. And then the replica jerseys, which came out, the new jerseys, the new alternate jerseys that came out at CubsCon, I thought they were a big hit. I haven't heard anybody not like them. And you guys do the replica jerseys, and they always turn out really cool too. And they're coming out June 20th. So if you want that replica jersey, that's a good game to buy right there.
Yeah, we've been really optimistic about the feedback on the new jersey so far. I think when we knew we were going to do something that was the baby blue colorway, that it would be well received. But so far it's been really positive. And we figured, why not celebrate the New Jersey by giving 10,000 of them away?
Love it. Now, you know, this may be a sneaky one that might be like everybody wants to get this one. On July 3rd, the Bluetooth radio. That looks like a really cool radio. And it's to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the first Cubs broadcast, which was April 14th, 1925. That was Quinn Ryan at the mic, and the Cubs beat the Pirates 8-2 in manager Charlie Grimm's Cubs debut. But I bet you this is going to be a pretty hot item that people are going to want.
Yeah, we were so delighted when we were working with our historian, Ed Hardig, on the calendar and realized it was going to be the 100th anniversary of Cubs radio broadcast. And we thought this is the perfect year to do a speaker. And it's a really high quality speaker. Again, this is a great giveaway. I think folks who get it are going to be really happy with it.
And again, one of the most popular items, like the magnet schedule, people freak out over these things, the Hawaiian shirt. That it's a nice green. I like it. It's very floral on July 6th. So yeah. The Hawaiian shirt, I mean, did it surprise you when you first started working for the Cubs and you're like, what's the big deal about the Hawaiian shirt?
I admit I didn't get it initially, but now I even look forward to seeing what our team is going to design. And this year I love that Cubs Productions went a little more tropical with the theme. And I think I've seen the sample in the office. It's going to be fun.
So Jen, I don't know if you know this. I kind of like bobbleheads. Some. I kind of that's kind of my thing, and I gotta say, boy, oh boy, did you guys hit this one out of the park. I will say, when I look at these bobbleheads, I am freaking out. Obviously, PCA, very cool bobblehead, April 19th, running super fast. Love it. But this next one right here, this Clark the Cub, I absolutely just love the design. It's Clark the Cub peering over the old scoreboard. That is just a brilliant idea. I absolutely love that concept.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, and I'll have to pass along your kudos to our fan development team that came up with these concepts for the bobbleheads this year. I agree. I think they knocked it out of the park. I think they're all really fun. I think PCA's removable helmet to recreate his quick run last year is great. I think the scoreboard is awesome. We have a few other exciting ones. I don't know if you want to talk about those, but there's Shota sitting in front of his Cubs locker with his iced coffee that says Mike on it. And we think that's going to be a big hit as well.
I think the lines for this one are going to be nuts. And, you know, in Japanese script, like you said, it's all the details. Like sometimes it's just the details that make the bobblehead, you know, and this one it just got the smile. It just captures it perfectly. Now, question, and that Shota one is June 1st, although I should give a wrong date so nobody goes and I can get them all. June 22nd is Michael Bush. Can you tell me about what it means by lightning bobblehead?
Yeah, so those of you who were at Wrigley might recall last season when we had a really weird weather night and Michael had an incredible hit right as lightning struck in the sky of Wrigley Field. And so this will be inspired by that, and the base will kind of illuminate to kind of recreate that nighttime thunderstorm sky.
Oh, that's really cool. And then I'm in a lot of memorabilia groups, and this is the one that got everyone buzzing. Shota was the number 2, Clark was the number 3, but the number 1 most talked about bobblehead, August 3rd, the Greg Maddux 1988 rain delay tarp slide bobblehead. For those of you who don't know, 8/8/88 first night game, it got rained out, and Les Lancaster, Greg Maddux, and Jody Davis decided to go slipping and sliding on the tarp. They got fined $500 each. And so what an iconic way to kind of celebrate that. That is just awesome.
Oh, well, I admit this one's long overdue. So appreciate the patience of Cubs fans. It's something we've been ruminating on for the last few years, and we were finally able to make it happen. This is for you all who've been fans since before the lights were here. To commemorate that. And just a reminder, since I know you're mentioning, there's going to be a long line for this one, or this is the one folks are interested in. You know, our season ticket holders this year for the first time ever are going to have the chance to pre-reserve 2 gate giveaways that we will set aside for them. And so don't forget to take advantage of that offer when you are contacted by your rep with more information about it.
I already did that. The day it came out, Robbie Harris is my guy, so I know it's going to be good. Now, the special event tickets are fun because, you know, you guys cover all sorts of different groups, right? There's theme games, there's things for different heritage, scouts, teachers, healthcare workers. It's like something for everybody. Yeah. And, you know, I know that for people that go to the games, the scout patches are a big one for the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. And so that's really an awesome one. That's on April 6th. I think, you know, everyone likes to get that and sew it on their different uniforms and stuff like that. And then back-to-back days, you have teacher appreciation and healthcare night on May 5th and 6th. The teacher appreciation is a nice fleece, and it has the 1914 logo, but instead of a bat, it has a pencil. And so that's pretty cool. And then for the healthcare workers, they have the socks that people wear in the hospital, and then the badge that you can pull that has Cubs on it. So I like that.
Yep. And I think, you know, we try really hard each year to up the ante in terms of the types of items we're offering to specific interest groups, and healthcare workers and, you know, scouts, and all of those are really important. We also are running back things like military appreciation this year. They have an awesome jersey. Pretty soon, we're going to be revealing a whole collection of special ticket items related to our heritage nights. Those are just being, you know, finished up right now. So in the coming weeks, we'll be revealing those. And something new this year is we're doing a special ticket offer for pet appreciation. So while you cannot bring your animal into the ballpark, we will have special toys in that ticket bundle this year. So a cat toy or a dog toy.
Yeah, they look really great. We're seeing them right here on the screen, and one of them, like obviously, is like a little fishing pole with the feather on it, and the rope for the dog. One of the things that I've seen has been really popular is the college theme nights. You guys have the college theme nights. You know, whoever sings a stretch or throws out the first pitch is associated with the college. You know, groups sing songs, do all these things. The organist Johnny and Josh are playing all the songs. This is the U of I one for this year, which again, these are really cool. It's got the Walking Bear logo walking across. So I think what I would tell people is, especially like, I know like for some of the big universities, get them quick because they sell out. I screwed up last year. My dad and my brother went to U of I and I totally botched it. I didn't get it early and it was gone. So definitely that's my recommendation is if your college is represented and you want it, get it early because it won't take long for it to be gone.
They do sell out. You're right. Those special ticket offers do sell out. So we encourage people, if there's a school that they attended or they're fans of, definitely buy your ticket early.
And then I love this first responder jersey. And then you get to choose when you check out if you want the police patch or the fire department patch. I mean, those are really great for all our first responders. A lot of people really like the Pride jerseys. They really thought they looked really good this year. And then the one thing that's new, and you got to tell me about this because I'm freaking out. I'm getting ready to order this. The Oktoberfest at the ballpark. This looks like a heavy duty Stein. Is that what that is? Is it glass?
It's not glass. It's a very thick, heavy plastic that really looks like glass. For safety reasons, we can't have people carrying massive glass steins into the ballpark, but it really is a close replica. It's really substantial. It's really well made. And this is one of the theme nights that we revealed with the calendar. We're going to do an Cubtoberfest at the ballpark.
So am I assuming that in Gallagher Way, there's going to be just different like beer samples and stuff like that?
Oh, it's going to be a party. It's going to be a big beer party.
Okay. So now that has my name written all over it. So like I said, you got the Cubs that have just always been at the forefront of just running just wonderful promotions. And like, I mean, like I said, I'm probably a little bit sick in the head when it comes to some of this stuff. I have to get all of them. I still have like the Celebriducks, the Sosa and Alou. I still have those things. I'm like a Cubs hoarder. I don't hoard anything other than Cubs stuff, but you guys, it just makes it fun to go to the ballpark. Like you said, thinking about people wearing Dansby headbands or just, you know, the umbrella hat or stuff like, it's just fun. It's fun. And it makes it fun to go to the ballpark and you get a cool keepsake. And it's fun to bring the kids. You got a lot of great stuff for kids as well to get them introduced to the ballpark experience.
I appreciate you saying that. And to the point about kids, to make it easier for families this year, when you go to cubs.com/specials, you can actually click kids promotions now. So you can see the different ones that are just for the little ones, or that are more probably friendly for the little ones, so that you can, you know, pick out special games for them as well.
Not only that, Jen, you guys did a great thing with the website in which everything is listed, whether it's gate giveaway or special event ticket, but it's all listed by month, which kind of makes it easier. I don't have to go back and forth. So whoever came up with that was a brilliant idea. I got one last question for you, Jen. Obviously, we're excited. You guys have done such a wonderful job with the Cubs Hall of Fame, that weekend where it all rolls out. But us Cub fans, we are slaves to certain things, and the pins have been phenomenal. Are there going to be Derek Lee and Sammy Sosa pins for the Cubs Hall of Fame ceremonies?
There will be a Derek Lee, Sammy Sosa giveaway that Sunday. It will be revealed soon.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you. I'm excited. You got, like I said, just the blue jackets and the ceremony on the field and each guy doing everything. It's just great. So Jen, I appreciate you just jumping on here and thank you for your time. And thank you guys, everyone in productions and everyone that's putting this stuff together did a fantastic job. Crawly approved.
Oh, thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you all at the ballpark in just a few short weeks.
All right, Crawly, that's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Follow on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Email us, flythew670@gmail.com. And you can watch us, that's right, by subscribing to the 670 The Score YouTube channel. Crawly, enjoy the first Cubs game. I think we've got Dodgers-Cubs not really aired before we get back together. And then Friday, again, 1:55, Chicago Cubs baseball on the air, Cubs Dodgers on 670 The Score. But we'll be with you before that.
Absolutely. Again, when you talk about you know, all the Cubs Hall of Famers in camp, when you talk about the first game, when you talk about the Dansby Swanson hair headband giveaway, you know baseball's getting started. Go Cubs! Hey guys, it's Crawly. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date with our latest episodes. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Go Cubs!